Hello, I'm Adam from TartyBikes and welcome to our guide to bikes. We've got a couple of example bikes here just to show you all the products that you can get fitted to the frames and how they increase in their quality with price. One's an entry-level 20-inch bike and the other is a mid to high range 20-inch bike. Now all the parts on these can cross over to 24 and 26-inch wheel bikes, so the examples of what you get when you go higher up the price range apply to those bikes as well. So the first bike we're going to look at is this Onza, and we're going to move to the front end of the bike first with the handlebar, stem and the fork. So this bike has a flat steel handlebar with a steel stem and also a steel fork. It's a great material to make trials bike parts from, nice and strong, relatively inexpensive to make, so you can keep the price right down on the entry-level bikes. The thing is, it's generally a little bit heavy, so if you go for a higher level bike, such as the Yabba we have here on this side, you get an aluminium oversized riser bar, a bit more comfortable, quite a lot lighter. You get an oversized aluminium stem, and also some nice chunky aluminium forks. Now the overall weight difference between these two setups is in excess of 500 grams. So if you can get a nice lightweight handlebar, stem and fork setup on your bike, it does make a big difference to how it rides. Makes the bike much more manoeuvrable and manageable. So next up we're going to look at the frames. Obviously this is a part that connects all the components of the bike together, so it's quite important to get a decent one. The more basic entry-level frame uses plain simple tubing, simple graphics to keep the cost down, whereas the more expensive bikes have more CNC work, complex tube profiles, light thin tubes and also posh graphics. So one thing that's quite apparent on both these frames, and a very commonly asked question, is why don't they have a seat? Well, two main reasons for that. It increases the clearance between the bike and your body, allowing for better manoeuvrability, and also drops the weight. It's something that's fairly recent in trials bikes in the last 5 or 6 years, and it's very rare to find a high-level trials bike with a seat now. Another thing that both these frames share is also a bash plate. This is fitted underneath the frame to help ward off knocks on the chainring and also the chain. One thing to note is that the bash plate shouldn't be used to purposely mount obstacles because it can damage the frame. So moving on now to the drivetrain. Now pretty much all the bikes we sell are single speed bikes. This means you have one sprocket at the front and one sprocket in the rear, which has quite a few different advantages. It means the bike's cheaper to manufacture, therefore cheaper for you to buy. It's lighter and it's less complex, so there's less stuff to break. Most of the entry level bikes run a fixed sprocket at the front and the freewheel at the rear. So I'm just going to demonstrate this by showing you how the bike moves when you turn the pedals around. You've got the clicking mechanism at the back here, and the chain's always driven at the front. All the chains on the bikes are nice strong BMX models to take the loads that are placed on them using the trials bikes. So moving on to the higher level bike, this one uses a front freewheel system. The freewheel is fitted to the cranks here. This is different to all normal mounted bikes and the lower end bike, but has a number of good advantages. The weight is shifted towards the centre of the bike, making it easier to pivot. Also means you can get a nice reliable high engagement points for a good price. You can see here, when you rotate the crank backwards, the chain stays still, and all the clicking comes from the front unit here. Again, a nice strong BMX chain on this bike, but smaller sprockets, even better ground clearance and lighter weight. Usually we run an 18 tooth on the crank and a 12 tooth fixed to the rear hub. So now we're going to move on and look at wheels. In the centre of your wheel, you have your hub. On the entry-level bikes, they have open cup and cone bearings. These are user serviceable, but don't last quite as long in wet and muddy conditions. It's a good idea to keep an eye on these, as keeping the bearings correctly preloaded will increase their life. Moving out from the hub, we have the rim. This is a standard 20-inch undrilled rim, which means they have no extra holes drilled between the spokes. These are generally shod with nice knobbly trials tyres in a hard compound to ensure good wear resistance. So moving back to the higher level bike, the hubs on here are aluminium hub shells, aluminium axles to save weight, and have sealed cartridge bearings for good life. The hubs are fitted to, on the rear, a 19-inch rim. This is slightly different to the 20-inch rim on the entry-level bike. This is to ensure you can fit a larger tyre, which gives better bounce, better grip, and still fall within competition rules. And to save weight, these rims are drilled between each spoke hole. This black tape here is called rim tape, and this prevents the inner tube from poking out through the holes. Fitted to both wheels on this bike are high-performance sticky compound trials tyres. These work great in natural conditions and also grip extremely well on concrete, but they can wear down quite quickly. So now we're going to look at the brakes. These are also a very important part of trials bikes. More basic bikes tend to come with V-brakes, the same as found on cross-country bikes, so they're very easy to adjust and spares are easy to come by. All the bikes we sell with a rear V-brake are fitted with upgraded pads free of charge. This increases performance and also hopefully aids your learning. Moving over to the higher level bike, this has hydraulic brakes front and rear. Many of the high level frames and forks come with specific mounts for the hydraulic brakes to maximise their performance. We have a Magura HS33 hydraulic rim brake on the back and a Magura Louise hydraulic disc brake on the front. The hydraulic rim brakes offer more performance, especially in wet conditions, and they have a larger range of spares available, including upgraded performance brake pads. The front disc brake offers great performance in wet and dry conditions, and also a more modulative feel, which is often desirable on the front of a trails bike. Hopefully you can see how spending a little bit more money can give you a lot more enjoyment and performance out of the bike. If you need any more help, don't hesitate to get in touch.